out on the kitchen table with pennies upon his eyes. His hands were crossed on his good wool coat, the one he wore at sunrise. We brought the whiskey and the candles in, and we sat through the whole dark night, singing the songs he asked us not to sing, till we got the words right. Dark water wake, dark water song, singing for the ones who won't be long. Dark water candle burning down to wick, dark water time is running thick. Dark water wake, dark water grief, singing is the only relief. Pass the bottle and hold his hand. Dark water wake for the dying man. Old Mara told the story of his youth, of how he stole a horse at 16 and rode it through the town on market day, just to make the women scream. He laughed the loudest at his own disgrace, and bought the owner twice the horse's worth. We laughed at the table in the candle dark, and shook the grief out for what it's worth. Dark water wake, dark water song, singing for the ones who won't be long. Dark water candle burning down to wick, dark water time is running thick. Dark water wake, dark water grief, singing is the only relief. Pass the bottle and hold his hand. Dark water wake for the dying man. Had fallen asleep, slumped over the table and chairs. I sat alone with his coin-covered face and whispered my unspoken prayers. I told him the things that I never had said, the thank yous, the sorries, the love. Then I blew out the last candle in the room and gave him back to above.
Came through in August with a tent full of heat and lies. He laid his hands on every willing sinner, and he looked at them with copper eyes. He took the offerings and he healed the lame, or said the lame were healed. By morning he was 3 towns down the road, and the lame were in the field. Coppermouth gospel, coppermouth word, sweetest poison you ever heard. Coppermouth preacher, coppermouth grace, salvation with a coppermouth face. He'll take your money and he'll take your faith. He'll leave you standing in an empty space. Coppermouth gospel going down smooth till you realize you've been made a fool. said her cancer was washed in the blood of the Lord. She gave him every dollar she had saved and thanked him for his word. The doctor said come back in every month, but she put faith over medicine. By October she was gone and the preacher was in another state again. Coppermouth gospel, coppermouth word, sweetest poison you ever heard. Coppermouth preacher, coppermouth grace, salvation with a coppermouth face. He'll take your money and he'll take your faith. He'll leave you standing in an empty space. Coppermouth gospel going down smooth till you realize you've been made a fool. Tracked him to a town in Tennessee. I sat in the back of his tent. I watched him work the crowd like a craftsman works, like he always knew where the money went. I stood up when he called for the offering plate, and I said what I had to say. The tent was quiet as a grave all through it. Then he smiled and looked away.
The bindweed grows up everything you build. It doesn't ask permission for the climb. It wraps around the fence post and the mailbox, and it does it every time. You think you've pulled it out and then it's back with twice the roots than before. The bindweed is the only plant I know that loves you to the core. Tried to leave me twice and came back twice with the bindweed on your hands. I told you what I was before the start. I told you all my plans. I said I'm not the love that lets you go. I said I'm not the gentle kind. You laughed and said you didn't another fence. I hope you find a tame and gentle love. I hope it makes some sense. But in 10 years when you clear the bindweed growing up your new back wall, you'll put your hand in the green of it and know I was never gone at all.
Mudcrow sits on the old levee fence and watches the water go by. He's been there every morning for 30 years, at least that long by my eye. My father called it a bad omen bird, said it shows up when someone will drown. He said the mudcrow watched the levee break in '65 and watched the whole third ward go down. Mudcrow ballad, mudcrow eye, watching everything before it dies. Mudcrow perched on the sorrow fence, watching since before it all made sense. Mudcrow ballad, mudcrow wing, black against the sun, announcing everything. It never cries and it never calls, it just watches from the levee wall. I've seen it on the morning a child was lost. I've seen it the day the mill closed down. I've seen it sitting on my own front gate the morning I nearly left this town. I walked out to it with my packed up bags. It looked at me and didn't move. I put my bags back in the hall that day. I don't know what I had to prove. Mudcrow ballad, mudcrow eye, watching everything before it dies. Mudcrow perched on the sorrow fence, watching since before it all made sense. Mudcrow ballad, mudcrow wing, black against the sun, announcing everything. It never cries and it never calls, it just watches from the levee wall. Last spring I found the mudcrow on the ground beneath the levee fence at dawn, lying still with its wings spread perfect wide, like it knew how to be gone. I buried it beside the water's edge, I marked the spot with a piece of white stone. Since then the levee's been quiet in the mornings, and I've been more alone. where the pavement gave up and the gravel began. We grew up on the songs that our grandparents carried from countries that no longer held the same land. We learned that the dark is just part of the singing. We learned that the wound is part of the song. We learned that the ones who are gone aren't gone fully. We carry the dead as we carry along. Dirt road songs for the living and dead. Dirt road song for the words left unsaid. Dirt road songs rising up from the clay. Dirt road songs at the end of the day. Sing it low, sing it long, sing it into the ground. Sing it for everyone lost and not found. Dirt road songs in the throat and the chest. Dirt road songs for the ones who need a rest. We have worked in the fields and the mines and the kitchens. We have worked in the cold and the heat and the dark. We have buried our children and buried our parents, and buried the things that were closest to heart. We didn't choose beauty, we found it in hardship. We didn't choose song, song chose us instead. The dirt road song is the sound of a people who sang because silence would leave them for dead. Dirt road songs for the living and dead. Dirt road songs for the words left unsaid. Dirt road songs rising up from the clay. Dirt road songs at the end of the day. Sing it low, sing it long, sing it into the ground. Sing it for everyone lost and not found. Dirt road songs in the throat and the chest. Dirt road songs for the ones who need a rest. Now we stand at the edge of an unfamiliar country, where the old songs are fading and nobody's sure whether the singing is worth what the singing costs, whether the old words still open the door. But I'll sing till the dirt road is swallowed by concrete. I'll sing till the last gravel stone is covered in black. I'll sing for the ones who came before and carried. I'll sing to bring something of all of them back.
Never told my mother what I did that summer in the nettle field. I was 17 and someone else, and I never fully healed. The man who asked me didn't have the words to say. The nettle field is houses now in roads, but I remember every blade of gray. Nettle confession, nettle shame, nettle grows back wild and fast the same. You can build your houses on the field, but the nettle underneath won't yield. Nettle confession, nettle scar, you are still exactly what you are. I'll speak it to the ground, if not to God. Nettle confession, blood and mud and sod. My daughter found me crying in the yard last summer by the garden wall. She asked me what was wrong, and I almost let the whole confession fall. I swallowed it back down like iron water, like I always learned to do. There are things you keep to keep the ones you love from knowing what you've been through. Nettle confession, nettle shame, nettle grows back wild and fast the same. You can build your houses on the field, but the nettle underneath won't yield. Nettle confession, nettle scar, you are still exactly what you are. I'll speak it to the ground, if not to God. Nettle confession, blood and mud and sod. I'm old enough now to understand that silence is its own kind of sin, that the things we bury in the nettle field keep growing from within. So I'll stand at the edge of what I was and say the name of what occurred. Maybe the nettle field will hear me finally and let me go on, just my word. He left for the war in the autumn, when the thornfield was burning with gold. He kissed me beside the old mailbox, and his hands in my hands were cold. I stood in the road till the dust cleared. I stood till the sun went to gray. I've been standing in that same road ever since, and he's been gone every day. Thornfield widow, set his plate at the table still, pours coffee on the windowsill. Thornfield widow, thornfield door, open every night as it was before. He's coming back, that's what I say. He's coming back, just not today. The telegram came on a Wednesday. The boy wouldn't look at my face. I read it 3 times before it made sense, and then I put it back in its place. I folded it up with his letters. I tied them with ribbon and twine. Some things you just keep in a drawer in the dark. Some wounds you just keep as your shrine. Thornfield widow, thornfield wife, waiting at the edge of a half-lived life. Set his plate at the table still, pours coffee on the windowsill. Thornfield widow, thornfield door, open every night as it was before. He's coming back, that's what I say. He's coming back, just not today. My daughters say, come live with us in town. Say the farm is too much alone. I tell them the thornfield needs tending, and somebody has to be home. When the briars come up through the garden, when the gate swings out in the wind, I could swear I hear boots on the gravel, and I'd rather stay here than go in.
Called him a saint when he healed the Watkins girl who'd been sick since she was 3. He laid his hands on her at the river bend, and she walked home clear and free. I knew him when he was just a man, before the stories made him glass. I knew the things he did in his own darkness. I watched the ember years go past. Emberglass emberglass glow. Emberglass is what you make of what you know. Half the fire and half the shine, half the darkness claiming to be divine. Emberglass saints, emberglass clear, showing what the people need to hear. I won't call you liar, I won't call you true. Emberglass saint, I just knew you. He came to me one winter and confessed without the costume of his name. He sat at my table and he wept a long time. He told me everything that he became. He said the Watkins girl had been improving 3 days before he touched her side. He just arrived at the right moment, wept. He said he couldn't hold the tide. Emberglass saint, emberglass glow. Emberglass is what you make of what you know. Half the fire and half the shine, half the darkness claiming to be divine. Emberglass saint, emberglass clear, showing what the people need to hear. I won't call you liar, I won't call you true. Emberglass saint, I just knew you. Died in March, the whole county mourned. They put his likeness in the church. I sat in the back pew at the funeral and watched them worship from my perch. The saint they loved was partly true and partly the story that the story needs. All saints are made of emberglass and darkness. All saints begin as seeds.
Tastes like blood and rust, like everything this county gives. You drink it long enough, you start to think that's just what water is. My grandfather drank it 60 years. His teeth went black by 45. He said the ironwell built this family, and the ironwell would take our lives. Ironwell blues, ironwell deep, ironwell keeps what you promised to keep. Ironwell cold, ironwell true. For you, Ironwell blues, Ironwell night, Ironwell never let anyone fight you. Just drinking, you swallow, and you bow your head. Ironwell blues until you're dead. a stone in the ironwell once, in a fit of rage and greed. He said he heard it fall for a full 10 seconds before it hit beneath. He said something answered from below the stone, a voice that wasn't whine. He covered the well with the old barn door and never spoke of it again. Ironwell blues, ironwell deep, ironwell keeps what you promised to keep. Ironwell cold, ironwell true. Ironwell's been waiting for you. Ironwell blues, ironwell night. Ironwell never let anyone fight you. Just drink and you swallow and you bow your head. Ironwell blues until you die. Signing the deed and I'm gone. I'm leaving the ironwell to whoever wants whatever darkness lives in the stone. But sometimes in the city late at night, I wake with that taste in my mouth, that iron and blood and rust on my tongue, calling me back to the south.
Fast on a fresh turned grave, faster than mercy grows in a man. I've watched it cover the ones I've known since the grief inside me began. The grave digger whistles while he works. He's made his peace with the dead. He says the moss don't care who you were, it just grows on what it's fed. Mossgrave, mossgrave, cover me green, cover what I was and all I have been. Mossgrave, mossgrave, grow thick and slow, let no one remember what's buried below. Mossgrave, mossgrave, hold what I gave, let the living keep moving past my grave. Mossgrave, take me into the stone. Mossgrave, I'm ready to go home. I knew a his own grave out behind his father's field. He measured it twice with a piece of old rope and then covered it and healed. He lived another 30 years after that. They say he slept soundly each night. Said there's peace in knowing where you're going. Said it settled something right.
Mossgrave, Mossgrave,
Cover me green, cover what I was and all I have been.
Mossgrave, Mossgrave,
Grow thick and slow, let no one remember what's buried below.
Mossgrave, Mossgrave,
Hold what I gave, let the living keep moving past my grave.
Mossgrave,
Take me into the stone. Mossgrave, I'm ready to go home. There are graves in this churchyard with no names, just a number carved in stone. The ones who had no one to write their name, the ones who died alone. I come here on the dark of the moon, and I speak to each unnamed one. I tell them someone knows they were alive before the moss came and was done.
The women in my line were made from ironbark. They bent but never broke. They raised the children through the famines and the wars, through every grief that came in smoke. They never asked for softness or for mercy. They asked for what they'd earned. They put their hands in everything that burned and came out rough and stern. Ironbark testament, ironbark line. Women made of harder things than wine. Ironbark mother, ironbark hand. Ironbark is how you take a stand. Ironbark testament running through my blood. Women who are barefoot through the mud. I carry every one of them in me. Ironbark testament, I'm free. Crossed the water in the winter with 4 children and 30 pounds. She said she never looked back at the shore. She only looked at where she was bound. She built her life in an unfamiliar country with her ironbark spine and her name. She never spoke of what she left behind, but I know all the same. Ironbark testament, ironbark line. Women made of harder things than wine. Ironbark mother, ironbark hand. Ironbark is how you take a stand. Ironbark testament running through my blood. Women who walk barefoot through the mud. I carry every one of them in me. Ironbark testament, daughters took their husbands' names and went. But the ironbark lives in me regardless, no matter where the family was sent. I say their names before I go to sleep. I say them like a prayer or a sword. Every woman who survived to give me life, every woman who endured.
The fox died under the woodpile last January. I found it when the snow withdrew. Its bones were clean by March, picked perfect by whatever winter creatures do. I kept the skull on the windowsill through April and talked to it in the dark. Something about the hollow of an eye socket helps a man find the mark. Foxbone winter, foxbone cold. Foxbone is how the story gets told. Something dies so something understands what lives beneath the skin of frozen lands. Foxbone winter, foxbone night. Foxbone is what you hold in the light when the living can't give you what you need. Foxbone winter, foxbone creed. My neighbor said it was unhealthy talk to speak to dead things in the house. I said she kept a portrait of her dead husband in every room in the house. She never answered, just looked at her hands. I think she understood. Some grief takes the shape of what it finds. Some grief takes what it should. Foxbone winter, foxbone cold. Foxbone is how the story gets told. Something dies so something understands what lives beneath the skin of frozen lands. Foxbone winter, foxbone night. Foxbone is what you hold in the light when the living can't give you what you need. Foxbone winter, foxbone creed. By April I returned the skull to the woodpile, put it where the fox had lain. The spring came on and covered it with moss, and I didn't need it again. But every January when the cold comes hard and the where silence fills the wood. I think about that clean and perfect skull, and I think it understood.
There's a crossing out on the old saltpine road where the two black highways meet. The locals leave their offerings in the mud at the crossroads, at the feet
of a wooden post with no name carved in it, in a rusted weather vane.
I've driven past it 40 years and always felt the cold before the rain.
Saltpine crossing, saltpine night. Saltpine is where you give up the fight.
Leave your sorrow at the wooden post, leave an offering for the one you love most.
Saltpine crossing, saltpine wind.
Saltpine is where the road bends in,
where you turn around to keep on through.
Saltpine crossing
is waiting for you.
A woman left her wedding ring one March, pressed into the black mud deep.
A man left both his work boots there in May, said he had no more use for feet.
A child left the drawing folded small of a family standing whole.
I saw it once before the rain took it. Something about it took my soul.
Saltpine crossing, saltpine night.
Saltpine is where you give up the fight.
Leave your sorrow at the wooden post, leave an offering for the one you love most.
Saltpine crossing, saltpine wind.
Saltpine is where the road bends in,
where you turn around to keep on through.
Saltpine crossing
is waiting for you.
Last autumn I drove out to the saltpine road with something in my coat.
I won't tell what I left at the wooden post. I won't write down what I wrote.
I drove home with both hands steady on the wheel, and the radio on low. Something lifted off my chest out there,
something I was ready to let go.
gather in the late October, when the soil is ready and the light is done. We bring what we have grown and what has rotted, we bring it all beneath the dying sun.
The night soil is the richest of the offerings,
what we return to, what we took.
the land remembers every year we fed it,
Every harvest in the book.
night soil hymn, night soil give,
Feed the ground so the ground lets you live.
night soil hymn, night soil prayer,
Return to the dark what the dark put there.
night soil sacred, night soil right.
Darkness feeds the darkness in the night.
What you give the earth, it gives you back.
Night soil hymn,
Night soil black. My grandmother said the old ones sang this
while they turn the compost in the fall.
She said the song keeps the ground from grieving.
When the harvest takes the last of all,
She said a field that's never sung to properly
goes cold inside eventually.
She sang to every row she ever planted.
She sang it all by memory.
Night soil hymn, night soil give,
Feed the ground so the ground lets you live.
night soil hymn, night soil prayer,
Return to the dark what the dark put there.
night soil sacred, night soil right.
Darkness feeds the darkness in the night.
What you give the earth, it gives you back.
Night soil hymn,
Night soil black.
we leave the offerings in the turned earth there.
We walk back to the lanterns of the village,
And we don't look back and we don't stare,
because the old one said the ground needs privacy.
to do what the ground does at night,
To take the offerings down into the darkness,
and turn the dying into light.